Good evening, friends. Welcome back to Kirby Russia. We're having a special edition because I kind of botched a live stream on our Telegram channel with Timur Beslangurov, the number one immigration lawyer in the country, my personal friend here. And Timur, I wanted to then get your thoughts and clarification because we kind of jumped into this topic but got interrupted two or three times about what does it look like. So say you're an American and you want to study at a Russian university, okay, but you're here on a tourist visa. How does this process look? So someone's here on a tourist visa. They've heard that you can start the process of residency by becoming a student. How does this thing work? Take us through this process, A to Z.
Hi, Tim. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. If foreign national, say an American, is in Russia on a tourist visa and would likes to study in the Russian university, get a student visa, and then apply for temporary residency, and then for permanent residency once he graduates. So basically, number one, such person needs to kind of find the university, become a student, meaning sign all the required documents, and university will issue a so-called invitation letter. So with this invitation letter, foreign national will have to exit Russia and apply for the Russian student visa in the Russian consulate abroad. Now, American citizens, they have the benefit of applying for the Russian visa in any Russian consulate in the world, where in any country where the Russian consulates do work and exist. So once getting the student visa, foreign national comes to Russia, gathers the required documents to apply for the temporary residency permit, and one of those documents, need not to forget, would be the FBI criminal record, apostilled, from the United States State Department, and applies for the temporary residency. So the process of getting the temporary residency is a bit shorter than for a regular temporary residency, than not on a student one.
So really? So wait, one thing though. So what are the things that are different? So you mentioned you need a criminal background check, which should come from your, we would call it the federal government in America, as in Washington, D.C. Certain countries might have different opinions. I guess if you're French, say from the national government in Paris, that's the level it has to come from, not from your local police office, which I tried to do and did succeed surprisingly one time by mistake. So anyways, besides that, what's the difference? What would you normally need that these students do not need to provide?
Well, I would say that it's pretty much the same. I was just saying about the criminal record, that it is also applicable as you would be applying based on other grounds, say based on quota or marriage. So the initial criminal record, the criminal record on a federal level. So FBI police report apostilled from the Washington D.C. State Department. It has to be there. Always, for any ground, when you apply for temporary residency, depending on what's your kind of first step. So for students, that is also required. And one needs to know, that coming to Russia, such person would need to have this criminal record. But there is one thing, is that these criminal records are valid to apply in Russia for 90 days only, which is very limited amount of time, because to get your FBI criminal report and apostille it sometimes takes 2.5 months. So it's not an easy process. And by the time it's in Russia, and by the time you gather the other documents and ready to submit for temporary residency, it might expire.
And in this person's case, he really doesn't want to leave Russia to get this new type of visa. But not only is he going to have to go to at least some country to get it, but to get this federal background check, he may have to do something weird like get that mailed to an address in Turkey, because the government in America will not mail anything to Russia anymore. I have some particular documents that I need from the American government to be sent here. No. It does not FedEx, just no. They're not going to do it. So That's one thing. I would also say, would you also say it's important to get a copy of your birth certificate probably from America? Because I don't think there's any way to get that sent here either.
The birth certificate is required actually at the citizenship stage.
Oh.
If somebody, yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
again, the different immigration authorities in regions, they might be requesting birth certificates for, say, a temporary residency permit or a residency, but it's not required by the law. Sometimes immigration authorities in the region, they are not that good in reading the laws. But actually, the birth certificate itself is required when you go and collect your Russian passport. Not even when you apply for citizenship, it's when you go with your American passport and when you applied for Russian citizenship already, it's approved, and then you need to go and collect your Russian passport. That's when you need a birth certificate. That's for Moscow. For other regions, again, as I said, there might be some peculiarities, but they are not based on legal grounds. Yeah, so some local authorities would be asking you something which they shouldn't do.
Well, the thing is, my birth certificate's actually very kind of ugly looking, and going through Moscow, 3 or 4 times, I had to show it every time. So they may have changed that, but I think that's more recently. But I always kind of had a problem where it really just looked like something that someone just sort of whipped up from like a computer. Obviously, in 1981, like a more primitive computer, but you know what I mean. So okay, that's cool.
But you received your documents quite a while ago, correct?
Yeah, I got citizenship in 2018, and that was through help that I had basically through RT and sort of some friends. So the last time I did a residency would be then 4 years or 5 years prior to that, like 2013, 2014-ish. So yeah, there's plenty of time for things to have changed.
Yeah.
But I would say just in case, guys, bring documents with you.
Yes.
Just, or especially, I just recently was talking to someone, and as a woman, a lot of women change their names after they get married, and that has created a whole nightmare of problems. So getting some sort of proof of name change is something that's a lot easier to do when you're on the territory of the United States than trying to do it from here, especially during this war. Like I said, the government in the United States, on the federal level and on the state level and on the local level, will not send anything to here. No ifs, ands, or buts.
If you touched this point, it's very important that you raise it. Definitely, all your live documents, it's very much advisable that you take them with you, postal, because if you don't want to travel for whatever reason back to the United States to get those documents when they would be required, it's very helpful to have them. But also, the fact when people get married in different states, different states in the United States, the marriage certificate may look different.
Yeah.
What I mean is that, say, people got married and women decided to change her last name. And in some states, it's not reflected on the marriage certificate that the last name has been changed. Yeah, and that's a problem. And Russian immigration authorities would request a spravka, a document from the U.S. Embassy in Russia, saying that, according to the local laws in some of the states, it's not reflected. Plus, and it's a problem right now to get anything from the U.S. consulate in Russia. As you know, it's quite problematic, even for American citizens, because they have limited kind of services that they provide. Plus, another quite common mistake would be women got married, got married, and she changed her last name, but didn't change her passport. Because that's also because in the United States, unless you travel, you don't actually really care about your passport. You kind of within the United States, you don't need it. It's more if you travel. So if somebody got married but then changed the last name, don't forget to change the passport as well.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I never even thought about that. Yeah, because there one thing I guess as an overall concept that a lot of foreign people don't understand is that the Russian government is very, very concerned. Correct me if I'm wrong. Very concerned that everything lines up. That for example, I'm Timothy Dennis Kirby. That everything is Timothy Dennis Kirby, not Tim, Not TD Kirby or whatever, or just Timothy Kirby without the Dennis. Timothy, Dennis, Kirby, everywhere. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it comes to even one letter is different. For them, it's a different person. Especially that is applicable towards the former CIS citizens, former Soviet Union citizens that, say, in the 90s immigrated to Canada, to United States. And basically in Russia, as you know, it's last name, first name, and patronymic. Yeah. Pretty much, I mean, 99% of them that went to United States, Canada, Australia, they would not keep the patronymic.
Oh, and so it doesn't match up anymore.
Yeah, and it doesn't match up anymore.
Oh, man.
And moreover, if they do not have documents confirming that they have changed basically their name, because for the Russian authorities it would be changing name. Yeah, if they don't have confirming documents, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a problem like pretty much that very hard to resolve.
And another one problem for women would be that, like, you know how like, so in Russian, like, a man would be like Dubrovsky, but the woman would be Dubrovskaya. But a lot of times in American history, to make everyone consistent from an American standpoint, everyone becomes Dubrovsky, whether they're male or female. And so that probably also causes some major issues. And also, once you learn Russian, it also sounds horrible. To have women be called ski. But anyways, that's crazy. All right, one thing is then,
women could, her last name was Klimova. She immigrated to the United States. She became Klimov.
Ooh.
They cut off the A. Yeah. So.
Oh no. And coming back, that had to be no fun. And also, in some ways, that has to also be weird and embarrassing. But anyways, one thing that, so about this, like, residency, as you're a student, how hard is it to apply for this? Is this for just any foreign student? They can just apply, or is there some limited numbers, or is there some surprises? Have you had any experience with doing this process of this pathway to citizenship by being a student?
Well, because the law is very new, I cannot say that we have a lot of practice specifically for that new application. But no, there are no quotas, no limitations. The only thing is that the student has to be a full-time student, not вечернее отделение, not заочное, but full-time student in a Russian licensed university. And courses like Russian language courses, they don't count for that. So it has to be a higher education. So sometimes foreigners come, they, for the first year, they go for the courses, to study Russian language. So that is not the education. So Russian language courses would not work. You need to be applying for, but you need to be studying as a bachelor program, master's program, like full education.
The next question that we have here was someone was asking, Ben, would you be able to cover what our marriage options are in terms of work permit and staying in Russia? I'm not quite sure what he means by marriage options. I can't apply for RVP yet because of a few stupid bureaucratic issues on both sides. Also, what kind of background check is needed? We have a few options in the USA. Some fit the 3-month requirement, others don't. You need a federal background check from the FBI within a apostille, I can tell you that much. But I don't know about marriage options. But Timur, I could say, I've told people for a long time, in some ways, because of this weird marriage license and how in America they're all goofy and different, and in a lot of ways, I don't know, in America it's not super important. It's important being married, but the license piece of paper is less important. Would you recommend that if people have the option that maybe they should just get married here to make it easier? In Russia.
Married. But if they're married already.
Oh, he said marriage options, so I'm assuming that means he wants to get married. Anyways,
if he's marrying a Russian, then he could marry in Russia, no problem, or he could marry in the United States. For us, the main thing is that the documents are in place, if marrying in Russia, there are less potential issues that could go wrong, but also you need to be very careful with documents and with the spellings. When people come, so what a very, very popular and very frequent, not popular, very frequent issue that we have is, for example, foreign national is married to a Russian.
Yeah.
And he got married, I don't know, 10 years ago. 10 years ago, his name spelling in his visa was, to the Russian translation, in Russian, was written in a certain way. And then, say, he got married, he was coming to Russia, say, was staying in Russia, working in Russia, and his visas change. So you need to change your visa, every 3 years. And recently, the way the spelling of foreign names in the Russian visas are written, you cannot influence any longer. So it's done by a machine. Machine makes the transliteration of your spelling.
Oh, to keep them consistent then.
They very frequently, they are not consistent.
Oh, because of the machine.
From the past.
Oh, from the past,
Say,
I see.
10 years ago, he applied and he got his visa, then came to Russia, say he got married, and in his marriage certificate, his last name or his name would be spelled in accordance with that visa 10 years ago. And for example, now he has a different visa and with a different spelling.
Oh, man, that's
also an issue.
Oh yeah, that's rough. Yeah, that's one thing. Like, especially for a lot of Americans, like I would say a good example of a name would be John. Because how would you think if you're someone who's learning Russian, you're like, my name is John, D-J-A-N, but everyone in Russia would write John with the big O in it because that's more logically consistent for them. So you really have to make sure, even if you don't like the way your name is spelled on your visa or any documents, once you have it set that way, it has to be that way forever. And don't try to change it or you're in trouble. Now, here's a question from Dominic. Timur, I sent you an email regarding RF enlistment. I think he means into the Russian military. Did you get any information? So maybe just in general, Timur, tell us about the options of joining the Russian military as a foreign person, especially from the standpoint of getting citizenship.
Well, yes. I mean, when this new law came into force, I went to Sakharov Immigration Center because they have the small room where you have the military guys that sign you up. Yeah. I had a conversation with them, and basically, I mean, they're not very knowledgeable. At the same time, I mean, not. I mean, the questions that I asked back then were like, okay, where would the person go? So it's a 1 year in the Russian military, but where? And they said, well, nobody can give you a guarantee where you would end up. You might end up on the battlefield. Yeah. But then clarifications came from the presidential decree, which outlined that, if a foreign national comes to the Russia, serves in the Russian military for 1 year, that person is obliged to spend 6 months on the battlefield. I mean, not necessarily kind of fighting, but being there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But nobody can give you a guarantee what you will be doing there. So that's the key thing. Yeah, it's kind of army. The fact that somebody is not not speaking Russian is not a deal breaker. The only thing is that if person is over 60, then it's a bit deal breaker. But again, the thing here is that we do not draft, we do not advertise that. We only share this information and that we know. And some people do write me and say, okay, how do I join the Russian military? Well, first of all, you would need to come to Russia. Yeah, starting from that.
Well, just to point out, that's what I've been telling you guys who watch my channel, the paradox. In order to move to Russia, you basically already need to be in Russia. But to be in Russia, you need some reason to be here, and it creates this sort of paradox loop. But anyway, sorry.
Well, I mean, probably person can get, Americans benefit from this 3-year visa, which is,
that's true, yeah.
Yeah, other citizens don't, citizens of other countries. So getting a tourist visa, coming to Russia, but again, I'm not drafting, so I cannot be the point of contact that would say, okay, this person would like to come from the United States, what should be done? So nobody will be actually doing that in the Russian army. Believe me, they have their own kind of things to bother right now. So if somebody comes to Russia, then we can point, okay, here is the immigration center, here there are the people from the military that you come, they explain you everything, you sign the contract, start. But to bring you from United States or from any other country, this is something like we don't do. We don't assist with that.
All right. Well, they said then, so after service ends, what happens? Do you automatically get residency, or do you have to then, your service ends and you live here on then what basis? Like, how does this work?
Well, say if you have a 3-year visa, you don't need any other visa. So you came on a tourist visa, joined the military. After 1 year, the contract is over, and you have the ground to apply for citizenship, and your visa is still kind of allows you.
I see.
But the law is very new. We haven't had any cases yet, because nobody served.
Because I assume that isn't it when you are in the Russian military? Well, actually, even if you don't even make it into the Russian military, you're supposed to be given like this little book thing that says like your military status, and is that would be the thing you'd take to prove that you have the right to apply for citizenship? Isn't it like a little book, удостоверение, or whatever?
Военный билет or
Военный билет, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, could be, and probably the contract that you've signed, and I mean, there is definitely some proof after this 1 year that you served in the military.
Okay. Well then, Dominic, to answer your question, it looks like you're going to have to come over to Russia here, be here, and then yes, you can apply for the military, but you got to serve 1 year, 6 months on the front line. So you got to think about that one, man. That's hardcore. But some people love the military, Timur. I don't quite understand the appeal as much, but some people love it. The next question. Is it possible to use the new residency through investment scheme by purchasing Russian shares of, say, Gazprom from the UK or via an intermediary in Turkey? If so, what sort of proof would be required to show conformity to the investment scheme requirements? So essentially, can this person invest in the Russian economy by buying a ton of shares from the West of something like Gazprom or Nornickel or whatever?
Well, in theory, let's divide the practical ways of doing that, and the legal ground. So the legal ground says that foreign national buys, it doesn't say share specifically, but the foreign national invests 30 million rubles into a Russian company that existed for 3 years and paid 6 million ruble in taxes, which is about how much? 90,000 in taxes on its first year when the foreign national submits the application. Such foreign national can get the permanent residency. Now, we construe it in a way that instead of trying to find a company and invest in a private company, foreign national can just go and buy shares on the stock market. And we received a reply from the Ministry of Economic Affairs. Basically, the government authority was pushing this law through. That that's within the legal framework. But Russian brokers will not open accounts for foreign citizens from unfriendly countries. And moreover, to the best of my knowledge, by the US sanctions, EU sanctions, and all of those tens of thousands of sanctions, you're not allowed to do that. So foreign American citizen, to the best of my knowledge right now, just practically cannot do it.
Okay. So it doesn't matter if they were to do it through some friend in Turkey, or if they took an airplane to Abu Dhabi or whatever, it wouldn't work.
But again, I mean, the shares have to be in your name.
In your names, that's it. Okay.
Just not.
So no intermediaries. All right. There's kind of a part 2 to this question. Let's read it. If I were to make an investment of 25 million rubles in real estate, I would also like to buy an amount of land, say 100 hectares. Can you explain the system of holding the land ownership in a Russian trust until citizenship is achieved, and your understanding of the vulnerability to fraud of this trust while being a non-citizen? So basically, he does want to buy real estate, but he can't legally, but he would use some sort of trust or maybe the services of a guy named Tim Kirby to hold on to this apartment until he gets citizenship. How would he do that?
Yeah. So first of all, yeah, you can invest into real estate, 25 million, but it has to be an apartment, commercial real estate, can be house, but not the land. Yeah, we can say, when I say land, I mean the agricultural land. Yeah, that has this type of definition. But if you buy a house and under the house there is a land plot, you can perfectly buy that. Yeah, because houses are not built on the agricultural land. With regards to buying agricultural land and using trust, here I need to, I would say, highlight. What do you mean under trust? Do you mean under trust like a legal vehicle, like proper legal entity, or trust in your buddy Russian who will buy it for you? Yeah.
Well, judging the way he capitalized the word trust, I believe he's more referring to some sort of legal entity. But I'm kind of curious about this whole thing with using a buddy, because a lot of people have a lot of faith in me, and they're like, Tim, what if I give you $5,000 and you buy some piece of farmland in Siberia for me? I've gotten a few of those. No one sent me the $5,000 yet, but I'd be happy to hold on to a piece of land for someone for a couple of years. So what about both of these scenarios?
Well, the first scenario, when you trust to Tim, we would be able to put in place as many legal binding documents to secure both sides of the transaction, but it will not be perfect. Yeah, because we all understand that the land will belong to Tim. Yeah, and you'll have to pay the taxes on land. They're not big, but still you'll have to pay the taxes on the land. And once the foreign national basically receives Russian citizenship, and it's a question when, because you know that to get Russian citizenship on a general grounds, it may take 7 to 8 years. So you need to put some thinking behind how to get Russian citizenship faster, whether through student, whether through potential investment, whether through employment. So all the options need to come in place. But it's not a 100% secure thing, because if something happens, say with the holder as an individual, then there are inheritance laws which will say that this land goes to the kids.
Yeah. So basically, what Timur's trying to say in a polite way is, if some of my enemies shoot me, that means it would get divided by the law's interpretation, half to my son, half to my daughter, or whoever wants it. So you'd have to bet that I'll survive till the end of that time, and that my son and daughter are nice people.
Yes. With regards to the trust, it is possible. We're actually looking into establishing something like this right now. But it's called an investment partnership, basically, and this investment partnership creates specific entity, a specific fund for each investor. So each investor will invest, not like aggregating all the money and then buying different land, but each investor, say an investor wants 100 hectares, so 100 hectares would be securely, I would say, on paper belonging to this investment fund and the beneficiary of this investment partnership. So that's possible, but like right now we are only in the process of looking into that more. And if there is interest, then potentially we'll launch it. Because it's not a simple, registering of OOO. It's kind of a big thing to do. There is a lot of work.
Well, I can tell you, Timur, that a lot of people have approached me with this sort of thing of wanting to buy something through me. But the problem is that when push comes to shove, no one's done it yet. No one's wanted to really pull the trigger on it. And it's one of these things where, Timur, with business, you kind of have to try it once to really figure out how it's going to work. and I just don't have the time or the money to kind of like experiment with this. So we'll see, guys. If you want to risk something, like I said, something small, especially for the people who are obsessed with this idea of like having a farm in Siberia and being like off the grid. I mean, there are literally hectares of land for like 200,000 rubles or less. What's that? Like 200,000 rubles. What's that? It's like $2,500 for a hectare, or even cheaper. So there's some cheap options out there if you want to do something more low risk. But anyways, one thing this person also added later is he said, what are the minimum requirements for time spent in Russia per year? When you are on temporary and permanent residency, you must spend 6 months and 1 day on the territory of the Russian Federation. After you get citizenship, you can go anywhere. So
except for the new investor visa.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah, if you get your permanent residency based on the investment scheme, then you don't need to spend in Russia a day.
Oh, wow. The benefits of being rich. Anyways, okay. A question. Could a husband and wife enroll in school, university, and get temporary residence as a means to permanent residency? So could like a husband and wife of foreign people like simultaneously go to a university and simultaneously apply? I think that's what he means.
Yeah. Because if a husband or wife applies for university and gets the temporary residency permit, the other person doesn't. So they both need to study. Yeah.
Or they could maybe, would it be possible, just theoretically, because as soon as someone gets Russian citizenship, their spouse then has the right to apply for temporary residency. So if one of them gets citizenship, the other one could later on apply, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. All
But
right, so we got that.
Students,
Good.
For students, if you have kids and you go to study at the university, say masters, the kids are eligible to get the temporary residency, but not the wife or the husband.
Oh, the kid. Okay, well, at least the kids. That's good. So you can bring the kids with you. That's actually looking like one of the best options I've seen for Western foreign people. But this is all very new to me. Zed Alpha is asking, if one comes with a tourist visa and finds a job, must exit Russia in order to change to a work visa. Is it necessary to go back to the country of citizenship? We kind of talked about this. I believe this person has Italian citizenship. So it sort of depends on the country where you have to go. But you do, if say you are in Russia, you get a job teaching English or whatever, and they can give you a work visa. You do have to leave and come back, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
If I come as a tourist and I enroll to study in Russia for 1 year, do I get a permit to stay for 1 year? Can I work? So essentially, Zed Alpha wants to like get a student visa, and can he work part-time on a student visa?
Yes, it's possible.
Oh, now you can.
Yeah. From 5th of August 2020.
Wow.
Students are allowed to work during their spare time. But again, that has to be a full-time student. It's not like 1 year. I don't know such programs. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's most probably Russian language courses, and that doesn't allow you. You're not a student in the means of the law, and you're not allowed
to do the full diploma. Okay. Also, what are the cost of these visas?
Cost of the visas.
Yeah, like I don't know. He said, what does a work visa cost? Student visa, how much does that cost? Or is it kind of a hidden cost because the other side takes care of it?
No, if it's a student visa, then the university issues the invitation letter, and they should do it free of charge. I don't think that you pay anything. Maybe some state duties, they're not high. But then the visa itself in the consulate, yeah, you have to pay. I don't know how much the visa in the consulate costs. I don't know, $50. What's the government fee for that? For the work visa.
We've got about 5 minutes till the Zoom call goes dead. If Timur, you still have energy, we can do another Zoom call. But anyways, here's a question we'll try to answer in 5 minutes. Forkbeard writes, I guess I have some questions I'd like Timur's thoughts on. If a person is wanting to travel, move to Russia, and has earned his or herself a place on some... Okay, are there any places that you've heard of where basically... you're flying to Russia and people have been harassed? because he's sort of just asking, are there any like airports where, or have you heard of any of these situations where people have been sort of harassed for wanting to travel to Russia?
I mean, anything can happen. I mean, Tim, you probably would answer this question better. I mean, if you don't looking for trouble, I don't think you would be harassed. I mean, unless there is some. I mean, there are always people, not always, but sometimes people are drunk or whatever. But it's not based on citizenship or anything like this. And in my opinion, in Russia, the security kind of situation is better than in other countries.
Now, he's asking for certain documents, birth certificate, marriage records, etc. What are all the documents he should bring with himself to Russia?
Well, it's hard to answer because we need to understand the exact situation. But if we speak about one person, then it will be birth certificate, marriage certificate, if there is one, birth certificate of kids. So all kind of essential life documents.
Mm-hmm. All right, and he asks, does having a pending job offer speed up the process or reduce costs in any way? I think he's referring to to doing residency. I don't think a job isn't going to help you with residency at all, I don't think.
Well, again, depends on what process. Immigration process, if you have an employer, that's great, because in Russia you cannot come and apply for a work permit without an employer. Yeah, so you have to have a job offer, and the employer who is willing to sponsor your work permit kind of process and work visa. Without that, it's just not possible. Yeah, you cannot have a work permit in Russia and then search for employment. Yeah, it's the other way around. It's the chicken first, then the egg.
Yeah, that's what also is one of the things that makes it hard to immigrate here. You really can't just sort of like look for a job here. You kind of have to look for a job while you're on some other form of visa, which you're not supposed to do, get that job, and then they sort of do the work visa for you, which is a whole pain in the butt there. So anyways, it looks like we're out of questions, which I think is kind of a good thing since we're running out of time. Timur, is there anything you'd really like to tell our audience here? Maybe some common slip-ups or some advice or things that people just don't seem to understand, so you can kind of clear the air with everyone about this whole immigration process, or some words of hope.
I just think that if somebody made a decision to come to Russia, I think that's great. If you need any assistance, we're here to help. If you're still considering, I think Russia needs quality immigration.
Me too.
We are working quite hard trying to lobby this within the Russian government to make the immigration process easier and to adopt some of the programs that foreign countries, Western countries would have. And in some cases, it works, and in some cases, we see the understanding. In other cases, we just don't see. Like, to give you an example, Russia, that hundreds of thousands IT guys left Russia.
Yeah.
Russia needs IT specialists. So Russia introduces a law which says that if foreign national works as an IT guy, such foreign national can get residency in Russia. Mm-hmm. Then we read in the news that Microsoft and all these big giants fired, tens of thousands of its employers. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So a common reason, my thinking would be, okay, why don't we bring those people here if they lost their job? When you speak with somebody up there, it's just like.
Well, then you know what, Timur? How about this? We're going to take a pause. We're going to start a fresh Zoom. And how about we then get into the philosophy of what you're trying to do with immigration? Because I think you have a lot to say. How about that? All right? Okay.
Yep.
Stop recording right now.